It's always good to complete practice exercises to improve your Python. How about using Google Colab to create them? How is your memory? Let's try a challenge. Here's questions from the series of simple Python tutorials. We're going to use Google Colab. Make sure you check your answers at the end of the video. Google Colab is not just for machine learning. You can mix text and code, which is perfect for creating practice exercises. So we've taken exercises from the various videos in the series, and we're going to ask you if you can remember how to do them. So you've done these before in the videos, but now can you do them again? So we're going to ask these questions in a quiz or practice sheet using Google Colab. Let's go through all of the questions, and you can also see the correct output. So number 1, check each number from 1 to 100 and print the number if it is in the list called target, which has these numbers in. Use a list comprehension, and you can see the numbers in the list in order as the output. Number 2, print each letter and index using enumerate and start from 1. So we have a list of A to F, and we can see this prints 1A, 2B, 3C up to 6F. Print even numbers from 100 down to 2. So 100 carries on all the way down to 2. Number 4, use zip to create a list of tuples. So you have A list from A to E and B list from 1 to 5. So here we have a list of tuples of A1, B2, C3, D4, E5. Number 5, print each string letter and the amount of times it occurs. So hello has 1 H, 2 E's, 2 L's and 1 O. We've used the counter here. Iterate over a loop 100,000 times and time it. Well, here's the time it took on this computer. Unpack a list of scores, pass them and print them. So you're going to create a function, and that's going to be able to list the scores that's been passed to them. What are the 3 most common letters in your name? And use counter. So in this long name that we're going to use, we have S 5 times, space 4 times and R 3 times. So that's a list of tuples. So those are the questions and the answers. So now you have to write the code. Well, that's how the quiz looks at the end, but how do you create it? Let's start off by typing the questions in Google Colab. So you can see here we have code and text. So simple writing the questions when we have a text box. So we start off, obviously we can go through from question 1, and we can just write in the question into the text box. We don't have to put it all in one line. We can use enter, and we can write the questions in the text box and then create a code box where we can put an answer. Now you can go back to change the text, the question, if you've made a mistake. So you can just click on the text box, and then you can change the text or add the text as you would do in another type of editor. So we have now question 1, and also we have our code box. So you could put some example code in there. So with a list comprehension, you could enter a for loop to show how you might do it using a for loop, although you want the person doing the quiz to answer the questions want to change it to a list comprehension. But we've got that option now, that we've got the text, the questions, and we've got a code box, and we can actually run that code. So a student, for example, could actually change the code in the box or mess around with the code to see what happens. Now sometimes you want to print the output, and perhaps if you've got very long for loops, for example, perhaps you don't, so you may need to consider that. But you essentially add text boxes where you can put the questions in, and then you can add the code into the code boxes. So we're going to do that with the 8 questions, and we go through each one and write the text, and if we want to put any code in, we can do that as well. So we can use different types of questions. You could do questions where you fill in the blanks, or there's some errors and you've got to find the errors, or perhaps change the code so there's a function. So whatever you want to put into your quiz. Once you've finished the questions, you might want to go through them, check them. So for example, here we've written the questions, perhaps we can tidy them up by adding the numbers. So give them numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But essentially that's it. That's how we've created our quiz in Google Colab. So those are all the questions we're going to ask. Now it's time to go through the solutions and write in the code and see if you've got your answers correct. Here are the solutions. So question 1, we look for a list comprehension that goes through numbers and prints the ones in the list. Question 2, we look at enumerate. So we just need to use a for loop with enumerate and print the count and the part of the list. Then we can use arrange from 100 to 1 with step 2 to go from 100 down to 2. Using zip, we can connect A list and B list into the list of tuples A1, B2 up to E5. Question 5, we just need to use the counter from collections to count each letter. So we've got A equals hello, so we just change that to A equals hello, Y equals counter A, and then print that Y, and we have the counter as we saw before. Iterate over a for loop, so we can use time it and then use start and stop before and after the for loop. Perhaps don't print during the loop, that will make it last longer, but print the time of stop minus start, the time in between. Unpack a list of scores, so we need to just define and use start args. We can use start scores in this example. And 3 most common letters, again we're going to use counter from collections and dot most common function, and that gives us the solution. So that's the answers from questions 1 to questions 8 in Google Colab, and all of those are in a document that we can share in our Google Drive. Well, we have Python practice exercises and also how to use Google Colab to create a simple practice exercise example. If you learned anything watching the video, then why not subscribe to the channel and help us keep creating these videos. And if you want to know when they're being released, then click the notification bell. Okay, if you like the video, click like and share. Thank you for watching.